We get an Almabayev and Sumijari, and then Tutsintuo Taira. They both bleed
Oh yeah,
with a strong gust of wind.
he does come across as like
A cunt. Welcome to this week's episode of Listen to Your Coaches. I'm your coach, Mike Wilkins, here with Coach Will Morrill. This week, we're going to preview some UFC 308. We're going to review some UFC Fight Night Hernandez versus Pereira, which just happened this past Saturday. But first, let's dive into some stout PGH fight news. It is fight week. So we have the 247 Fighting Championships this weekend, which will be headlined by Lucas Siebert, our very own. Also on the card, making his pro debut, Josh Visoki, fighting for an amateur featherweight title. We've got Luke Martin, and making his amateur debut, Brian Mitchell. So we got 4 fighters on the card this weekend. We almost had 5. We had 1 fighter accept a short notice fight, and then opponent decided that he actually didn't want a short notice fight. But that is neither here nor there. Luckily, literally 1 minute after the decline, said fighter was able to accept another fight just a few weeks later. So, good
Worked
stuff.
out.
Yeah, so thoughts on our fighters?
Man, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a really exciting card. This is a good one to see.
Exciting card, good card. It's going to be a busy night for us. There's still time to buy your tickets. The fight is October the 26th, so depending on when you're listening to this, purchase tickets all the way up until time of event. When purchasing tickets, make sure to select the fighter that you are supporting. Selecting the fighter you are supporting is very important. It really helps elevate their career. Definitely make sure you're doing that. And if you just want to come see some good fights and you don't have a fighter you're particularly supporting, your fighter is Lucas Siebert. All right. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, let's
Get into
recap.
some breakdown, some review, breakdown, recap. Run them. All right.
So let's start at the bottom of the card.
The
Now,
bottom.
You watched the whole thing, right?
I watched it bottom to top, top to bottom. Yeah.
Okay, so I got in towards the end of the prelims. So I'm familiar with at least one of these fighters, and I saw your texts. What do you think about this fight?
So the opening fight, Austin Lane versus Robelis Despaigne. Probably didn't say that right. Not too concerned about it. Despaigne, this is a heavyweight belt.
Right.
Despaigne,
I'm familiar with
Olympic
him.
bronze medalist in Taekwondo.
Right.
I've been told.
He had, I believe, until he got to the UFC, he had a ton of knockouts, but 2 minutes of cage time or something like that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
He was just knocking everyone out.
Phenomenal
easily.
striker or whatever.
Right.
And I've been told that his first fight in the UFC was a quick knockout as well.
I saw that
But
one.
then he was out grappled severely in his sophomore appearance. His third time stepping into the octagon. Super unimpressed.
Yeah, that's unfortunately kind of what happens at heavyweight is even when you get someone who's skilled in one area, that's just generally lacking.
So, man, like very much so lacking in the ground, which you would imagine that would be his weak point with his strong point, having such a credentialed striking background. But some of the things that were going down there, now granted there is a professional fighter on top of you,
Right.
but there's certain things that shoot off red flags, right? Stuff that people who have trained for a few months, what mistakes wouldn't be making, monitoring a leg in half guard, right? You know what I mean? So red flag. There were moments when Austin Lane was on top and Despaigne on bottom in half guard, just completely like an open half guard, unmonitored leg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's free pat, and flat on his back without top pressure.
So Lane can just choose to keep sitting on that leg and ground and pound, or he can
just step right over,
or he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, an unmonitored leg. And just right then, it's just red flag. It's oh, I wonder if there's even an attempt to catch up the groundwork, or if all the attempt was you got to what are you doing? You got to imagine that you have likely a striking advantage, and that's why you're doing this. So you know you're at a disadvantage in grappling. So what you gave me a few episodes ago, $2 to spend on Kayla Harrison.
Right. Oh yeah. Right.
And you could place $1 into
Right.
a certain
It was
spot.
ground grappling, wrestling, and stand up.
Right?
Right.
I'm assuming they must have put both dollars into the wrestling because
Yeah, groundwork didn't
the
look
groundwork, it looks like it wasn't touched.
good. That's so disappointing. And it's like, I mean, as a striking coach, I shouldn't be able to look at someone's fight and be like, "Oh, your grappling's terrible." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I see that, it just really bums me out. So I'm not mad that I missed this fight. You anything else to say about it? Or
I mean, I hesitate to say someone's grappling's terrible who's in the UFC. Like, I hesitate. That feels like,
it's a little disrespectful, but also at the same time.
but it's not incorrect in this situation.
Right. And also, this is about to be kind of wildly disrespectful, but also like heavyweights generally kind of suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to a certain degree, the skill level of a heavyweight is obviously going to be a little bit lesser than the lighter weight classes, due to the nature of that weight class, But it was pretty bad.
Also, I think this guy, one, I don't think he's ever going to hear this. We're not going to hurt his feelings. And two, dude's got an Olympic medal, so like he'll be all right.
Yeah, dude, he doesn't care about us. All right, cool. So let's move on. So the next fight, Melissa Martinez versus Alice Ardaline. So like I was definitely watching this fight, probably not as like with like as such a thoughtful eye. So here goes. Maybe this would be interesting to know. I pick and choose which fights I'm going to pay hardcore attention to,
And how you're going to pay attention.
and how I'm going to pay attention to them. For example, like like I might have some other stuff going on, and like I'll be like, hey, I'm going to dial in on this fight, and I'm going to kind of like take care of some stuff during the next fight, right? Like like I have 2 young kids at home, right? I'm like, okay, during the next fight, I'm going to make some dino nuggets.
Right. Yeah.
And these prelims did start at 4 p.m. So like, yeah, this was like around time where it's like starting to get like some food ready for the kids, and things like that. But what makes me decide that? It's like, okay, am I a fan of somebody? Am I interested in something, or do I have a reason to watch this fight?
Right. Is it going to be high level? That's a big
High level. Like, am I going to be able to take something away from it? Or also, it's like, okay, like for example, I'm not missing a women's flyweight fight or a women's bantamweight fight, right?
Because we're scouting.
I'm scouting, right? You know what I mean? Like potential opponents, men's bantamweight, all over it.
Yep.
Men's featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, all over it, right? Because, we have some people who I believe are going to be touching those divisions. And whether it be a little far away, and definitely the landscape will change, even if we don't see any of these people that I'm watching, it's good reps for a coach, regardless.
And you're starting to see what's going on in that division.
Yeah. You see like the
what I mean?
meta of the division,
Exactly.
which is a word that I just recently learned what it meant.
In how like the jiu-jitsu guys are using it.
It's like, so I first heard of it through like video games.
Oh, is that where they're
Right, I used to play like Rainbow,
right?
And they'd be like, "Oh, this is the meta," and I'd it was just a word that meant nothing to me, and like I was like, "Okay," and like I just like let it just go, pass by. But yeah, through jujitsu is where like I just like recently learned like oh, that's what they mean by
what's
it.
going on in the atmosphere. And
Yeah. So that's cool. So whatever, they're neither here nor there. So in this fight, like not like watching it too deeply, but a foul occurred, or an alleged foul, right? It was an alleged low blow. Melissa Martinez, through a kick, ended up landing perfectly on the liver, in which Alice Ardeen claimed low blow.
Oh.
All right. This was, I believe it was in the second round.
It had to have been. Do you want me to pull up the rules?
It might have been in the third round. Maybe it was in the second round. Yeah, go pull the rules up for me. So,
actually, you should explain a little bit more about what happened. And then
so anyhow, there was this, alleged foul. So she was like, "Oh, I got hit low blow." Blah blah blah. Keith Peterson stops the fight. They throw out the replay. Herb Dean's the replay official. Replay goes through. No low blow.
Okay, so when you say stop the fight, you mean fight's over or
No.
timeout?
Time.
Got you.
Like a groin shot. Like what
Right.
would happen if someone
Right.
got groin shotted, right? So like, oh, they're giving you your 5 minutes, right? So Ardeline's taking her 5 minutes. During the 5 minutes, Keith Peterson sends it to replay. Herb Dean's the replay official. Watches the reviews, like, clean shot, clean shot.
Interesting.
And it didn't even touch shorts.
Right, it was all
Didn't
liver.
even touch shorts, all liver.
Now, hold on. I was under the impression that if you went to the replay, fight's over.
No,
not
you
the
can
case?
no, it depends on what they're replaying.
Okay.
Like they were replaying a low blow here, like during the break. You
Okay,
know what I
makes
mean?
sense.
Right? Like it's not like I don't know. But they're like, this girl's getting her 5 minutes, and
Right.
while she's still taking her time, they're watching the replay. If she's like, she might even have gotten away with, if she's like, I'm ready to go, then they wouldn't have time to watch the replay.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was a low blow. But what happened was they saw that it was a liver shot, and then it was said that they had two options, right? And option one, could you slide that over a little bit? I can't see. Our
Yeah,
notes.
sorry.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah. So from what they said on the broadcast was like, you know what I mean? The options were to restart the fight right then and there, or they could stop the fight and it could go directly to the scorecards.
See, I thought that was only an option if there was an actual foul.
That's what they said. They said that's like what they could do. If they deem it wasn't a foul because they could stop the fight and you would be like, okay, stop the fight and it's a TKO.
Right.
But no, it would go to the scorecards. Now my thing is like, all right, if you stop the fight and you go to the scorecards, what if the scorecards read for the person faking the low blow and they win the fight by being like, oh, I got liver shotted, but oh no, it was a groin strike, and then they review it and it's like, it wasn't a groin strike, it was a clean fight. Well, fight's over. Okay, let's go to the scorecards. And I was up 2 rounds and I'm like,
yeah, it's
got
just,
ya. You would have TKO'd me here. I would have took a knee. I can't move. I got liver shotted. You know?
Yeah, anytime you get hit clean to the body, you just say it's a nut shot, and you're good. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous.
So that's something that's going to need to be addressed. Right over here we have. Go ahead.
I want to say this guy's name was Alex Rodriguez, and he was a beast with knees, 205er, and I want to say he was fighting Jan. Maybe it wasn't Jan, but it was someone else who was really good. He hit a crazy, perfect knee to the liver. Same thing happened. Dude gets his time to recover, and they said it was a nut shot. It was not. It was totally clean. And then, again, it might not have been Jan, but like came back and won, and this dude just got robbed, and now he's not in the UFC anymore. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And like this kind of stuff needs to be cleared up.
Yeah. All right. So according to this rules that we have pulled up, if the fight is unable to reach the normal conclusion based upon a foul, equipment failure. So maybe that's the difference. It wasn't a foul.
Okay. I see.
You know what I mean? So since it was a clean blow,
right,
it wasn't a foul. Mm-hmm. You know, equipment failure or an act of God.
Which dude happened in a fight that Keith Peterson was reffing in one of our fights.
What?
Dude, Brody was beating some dude up. Which, by the way, Keith
and the
Peterson,
fire alarm went off.
Fire alarm goes off.
Act of God.
Kept it going.
Act of God. Yeah, good. I would assume the act of God would be like you're fighting outside and it's raining.
Right, or the stadium like lights go off or like something crazy like that.
Yeah. You go to judge a scorecard if the fight has reached any part of the second round, meaning that like, you're just being scored on the first round of the fight.
Now, also, I should point this out. This was the closest thing to what I read from your notes, like would be relevant, but also this is from 2017.
All right, yeah.
So
you know
hopefully it's accurate, but
whatever, it doesn't matter. So this ended up not being a foul, and I think that's why what we read is a little bit different than the rules here. But like, yeah, man, like that's crazy. Like, well, they decided to keep the fight going for and luckily Martinez did end up winning a 30-27.
Oh, thank God.
Unanimous decision. Yeah. So all's well that ends well.
But still, that would be heartbreaking.
It's an interesting thing to have happen. You know what I mean? You don't see that often. And I really like the use of replay here.
Oh yeah, I think that's exactly when it should be used. And I'm not a big fan of like, I know there's like old school people. Like my dad sometimes would be like, "Oh, too much replay and taking the human aspect out of sports." But I'm all for it.
No, I mean you want to get it right. That's the whole thing. So, but the real argument that anybody could have with replay is it's like slows the game down.
Right. Exactly.
But in this instance, it's not slowing anything down. This person's taking the time from a low blow, right? And you're replaying that like during the time, right? So there's a thing in let's talk football. In football, a coach can elect a challenge, a call on the field, right? But if the next play, if the ball is snapped, your opportunity to challenge that previous play is gone, right? So if, like you fake the low blow, right? And you get hit and and they're reviewing it and you don't want to get like busted on this review, right? you take your like 10 seconds and everything. It's like, oh, I'm good. Let's go. And then boom, you go. You get that essentially get that snap off. You know what I mean?
The clock starts again.
Yeah. So then, that's that. All right, cool. We're gonna jump over some fights. Jessica Penne fought Elise Reed. I'm not gonna talk about that. I did watch the Edwards Vidal fight as it was a women's bantamweight fight. The Brad Katona fight. I took a look at that. Actually, where are you at? Are you in yet?
I got in at the second round of this.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. So Brad Katona, he was on The Ultimate Fighter in a season that I watched back in the day. I'm trying to think who was on his season. Notable, Bryce Mitchell.
Okay.
Same season as Bryce Mitchell. I remember Brad, Bryce Mitchell, Tyler Diamond. Those guys were all on the same season together. So I wanted to check him out. I was interested in him. Canadian, but I believe he trains in Ireland at SBG.
Oh, okay.
That's what I remember from the show.
Gotcha.
So this Brazilian kid he fought, I think he's like 16-0. That Gene.
Dude, Matsumoto? I was like, for sure he's going to be Japanese.
Can you click on him?
Yeah.
Can we do that? Is he 16-0? Like, I mean, the fight was good. It was a good fight or whatever. I'm not like overly impressed.
Sorry, what are you
there he is, 16-0. Top left corner, right underneath his
Oh.
name, bantamweight. All right, send us back. I was just kind of impressed at his record, but like nothing like stood out to me too much in the fight. And then let's get to the main prelim, right? And this is one that we're really interested in because we
love flyweights.
I am big on flyweights, and that'll be evident throughout this podcast.
Now, with that said, this I didn't think was like I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was the best that flyweights had to offer.
No.
Yeah.
So I was really excited about Almabayev here. I think he was like 20-2 coming into this fight. Had like some grappling credentials, which I'm really getting fired up about grappling, specifically in the flyweight division. They're just doing such a good job. But like what I wasn't impressed with was his proactive takedowns, right? Just like was not getting the setups off, not getting to the hips well, not finishing through with like chaining his attacks together. However, that could also be a tip of the cap to Mateus
Nicolau. His takedown defense was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think that really what you can kind of look at this is like Nicolau showed exceptional skill with his takedown defense, but how do you say Almabayev?
Yeah, I'm going to say Almabayev.
His offense was so relentless that even though it wasn't successful, if you're on offense the whole time and the other guy's on defense the whole time, you're still going to win, even if it's a little bit sloppy and not necessarily set up the way that you and I would like to see and finish the way that you and I would like to see.
Yeah.
So like obviously he won, but I don't think that we're going to see him like fly to the top of the.
No, I don't. Although this should put him in the top. I would imagine this puts him in the top 10. I believe the rankings prior to this fight were 14. I believe Almabayev was 14 and Nicolau was 7. There he is. Nicolau was 7. Yep, I was right. All right. So yeah, 14 and 7. You would imagine that Almabayev slides maybe in the top 10 or close to 10.
I would imagine he would.
Pull those rankings back up. Yeah. I mean, you just beat the number 7.
How could you not?
Yeah. I mean,
and no offense to some of these other guys, but he's better than some of those other guys.
Yeah. You know what? I would like to see Almabayev and Tim Elliott.
Dude, also, you know what I think would be interesting? Almabayev and who was the flyweight we were big on last week? Carpenter. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that too, but I don't know if Carpenter is like ready for a ranked fight yet.
I mean, I think skill-wise he is, but
like you know what I mean? It's like climbing the ladder wise, right? Like
we should look up how many flyweights there are, because if there's 20 of these guys.
So, dude, I believe there's around 50.
Oh, really? 55. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we should just look it up though.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. We'll look it up some other time. The reason I say that is because I recently listened to Henry Cejudo talk about a story about how he saved the flyweight division, which he absolutely did. So when Henry Cejudo was the champion, and you know, him and Dana White had a meeting or whatever. I think it took place on a car ride, and Henry was offered to be able to go up to 135 and challenge for the title, right? And Dana said, okay, yeah, you can come up challenge for the 135-pound title, but that means the end of the flyweight division, right? So instead, Henry stayed down at flyweight.
And TJ came down, correct?
TJ came down.
That was that time?
Yeah, that was at that time. And the way Henry tells the story is he saved 55 people's jobs. You know what I mean? And like saved the division. And so that he said 55.
Gotcha.
So I'm like,
that's
okay,
where that number
so
came from.
in the 50s. All right, so yeah, all right, let's move on.
Cool.
We're on the main card of the fight night now. On the main card, Darren Elkins and Daniel Pineda. First off, the most impressive, great fighters, both.
Hold on, wait. Can we start this with what I texted you and what you texted back?
Remind me.
So I texted Mike and I was like, yo, Darren Elkins is tough as fuck. And you were like, yeah, dude, he has the damage written on his chest in
stitches, dude.
Like, of course he's tough. It's like, yeah.
Come on, man. Bro, so first off, I really like this fight. These guys are definitely OGs of the game.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite things about this fight is their combined age is 79 years old.
Yeah, dude.
Darren Elkins, 40. Daniel Pineda, 39 years old. They wear their age through their cuts. They both bleed.
Oh, yeah.
With a strong gust of wind. Yeah, the wind blows too hard. Darren Elkins' eyes split open. Yeah, but like, you know, they just like fight like they're prize fighters. That's what they are. They are prize fighters. They are out there fighting for money, and I love it. I wouldn't be surprised. Did they get fight of the night? They might have.
No.
No?
I don't believe so. Oh, no, they did. Yeah.
They did? How do you know? Where do you see it?
Right here.
Ah! Look at that.
Yeah.
Fight of the night. Okay, and we're learning how to use the computer, guys.
Look at us.
Look at us. Yeah, so they both got fight of the night. I mean, obviously they fought each other. So, dude, great fight. Like, I don't have much else to say. Like, you know, they should just keep rematching. Like,
yeah.
Dude, they should start a Masters division.
They really should, because there are interesting fights there. You know what I mean?
And it's just like, all right, the people, here goes how, there's no champion in the Masters division, right? It's like, okay, so what are you doing for? Just like dudes who like are just going to like put on good fights.
Good fights, make some good money. And again, they're being age appropriately matched. Like, can you imagine if we got like Wonder Boy Matt Brown?
Yeah.
Like, that's where I want to see that. You know what I mean? And you have guys who, like Wonder Boy, who they're still healthy enough to fight.
Dude, that's kind of like what Bellator was for a little bit. It was like, okay, the UFC is where people in their prime, where the best fought the best. Right? And then, like, Bellator was where you got to keep watching, like, your old favorites.
Exactly. And they would get guys who were good, you know, but, like, on the tail
Chael versus Tito, Fedor, like, you know, all the
They had Bader in there.
Frank Mir, you know what I mean? I feel like Bader,
Musasi.
though, Bader was still, like, with it. Musasi was still, like,
That's
with
true. They
it.
still had some juice
some
left.
legitimacy.
But I see what
like,
you're saying with, like, the Chael Fedor, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so then we move on. Jake Hadley was a huge favorite over Cameron Smotherman. I might have put some money on Jake Hadley because I was like, yo, sounds like free money to me. And I lost that money.
Dude, Smotherman was impressive.
My man.
I think
he was impressive.
This whole fight can really get wrapped up with the style of like Hadley being really bouncy in and out. In less so out. We'll talk about that in a second. But like very bouncy on his feet. And Smotherman was just like really heavy in his base and just kept creeping forward, right? Creeping forward while maintaining that base. And you see Hadley punch first a lot, but Smotherman is either countering or interrupting, and Hadley's not using his base, which is like, again, bouncy, to disengage, whether that's out or in.
What a jag.
If he would have gotten a takedown, that could have, obviously changed the, trajectory of the fight. So it was a lot of him bouncing in, landing, and then getting countered or interrupted mid-combination. And obviously with that solid base, Smotherman was able to like really put some heat on those punches, and that's what won him the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good win for Smotherman.
Oh, for sure.
It makes me question the odds makers on that because like, Hadley had a point taken away too with an eye poke.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, it was a nut shot and an eye poke.
Yeah.
In one round. Yeah, it was a bad one too.
Yeah. Nothing like kicking someone in the nuts and then shoving your fingers in the mouth. Yeah. All right, now, dude, we are on to some juicy fights. I big time liked the top of this card, the last three fights.
Yep.
So we're back in the flyweight division. We've got Charles Johnson versus this guy who he fought.
Suma Dajiri, I believe.
That's the problem with flyweight. So it's like, you know, like
Yarji? I don't know.
like flyweight is small, 125 pounds. So when you look at like the bell curve of like the American fighter, it's like 55, 70,
Right.
right? But that bell curve gets slid down like
That's true.
when you go
yeah.
east.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at flyweight, you're much more likely to have, you know, some foreigners in it as opposed to the upper weights. You know?
Absolutely.
So we get into Almabayev and Sum Majari and then Tutsin Tuo Tyra.
That's Tyra.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're going to have...
Do you remember how pronounced that was when we were looking at the rankings in Rajamundry Stadium? It was like 102 up to like 130 was like all tied.
Yeah.
And one or two Japanese dudes. And then above that, you've got a smattering of Brazilians and English dudes and, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We should have a segment where it's like Mike tries to pronounce these people's names.
Dude, that's not a bad idea.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, we should remember this.
Let's do it. All right. Yeah. So I really like this fight. Charles Johnson, purple shorts. Will, purple shorts guy. Big time purple shorts guy.
Yep.
Big fan of Charles Johnson or...
So I really enjoyed everything about Charles Johnson except for one thing.
Dude, it's like if you look at this picture of him right now, we're looking at a picture of him on the roster. Looks great.
Yeah.
It's in the purple shorts too.
Yep.
It's how he looked during the fight.
Actually, there's 1.5 things I don't like, and this hides both of them.
Okay, the first one is the back of his head.
Brother.
So he's got a shaved head, but he left the back. Like
But there's like a fade. It's like a star fade. It's like if someone took a starfish and just slapped it on the back of his head, and his barber just went and just went around that.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with that, but he fought well.
He did.
So I'll
He
give
did.
him that.
I also didn't love his back tattoos, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay, I didn't even notice.
But yeah, he fought real well. And this kid, Suma Dejerji, whatever his name is, he's from Alpha Male, right? So he's from like a very legit camp.
I wonder if he is though, or like do these dudes just like, all right, we need to acclimate to the States,
Oh, and so he's
know
just
what I
like
mean?
doing
So-
like a couple weeks there.
right? Like I think that's what Tyra did with Factory X, and that's why him and Royval had trained together.
No, he did have Faber in his corner. Now I don't know if that's because he could only get maybe like one corner. You know what I mean? But like, neither here nor there. That's one of our new phrases. We keep saying that all the time.
Yeah, when you just said it, I was like, we say that a lot. I just
Yeah,
thought-
we do.
Well, that's neither here nor there. So anyhow, Charles Johnson was clapping that boy up. Let's go.
Yeah, he looked great. He
Yeah,
looked really
dude.
good.
Hard strikes, hard committed combinations mixed in well with takedown attempts. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was just like everything you want. Like, you know,
And the pace, dude.
The pace, high pace. Got out of some like deep subs. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, very fun fight. I enjoyed it. Charles Johnson, please cut your hair, and then I can be like a huge fan. Purple shorts, big fan about that.
I really like the way he committed to his strikes too.
Yes.
Like garnered the respect and really opened up the opportunity to attack the takedowns.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and his wrestling was strong too. So yeah, man.
He's interesting.
Is he ranked?
I don't know. Let's take a look.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't see it. Oh, interesting. So
So here goes something. The main prelim was between 7 and 14, but the mid fight on the main card was 2 unranked.
dude, that's interesting.
So here goes something that we do know based on Carpenter's fight last week. We do know there's at least 4 unranked flyweights.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
All right, co-main, Rob Font versus Kyler Phillips. I was absolutely floored by Kyler Phillips passing in the first round.
Dude, and so when I saw your notes for this, you were like passing, and I was like, thank God, that's the only thing I could see in that first round. So I watched these fights with my wife, with my boy Pogal, and with my friend Hannah, right? And none of them know like that much about fighting, specifically jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So like I was like, oh my God, guys, his passing, and they're just like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah, dude.
But like, dude, it was phenomenal.
So I got behind on these fights because I rewound it. I watched those 2 minutes of the first round. I watched it like 3 times. I was like, Katie, you got to see this. You got to see this, and stuff. Yeah, just like an incredible use of knee cuts. And I think the thing with knee cut passing, I'm assuming most people listening know what a knee cut pass is. If you don't, you can Google it, YouTube it. Widely available, incredibly common technique. But
in
jiu-jitsu, but it's mostly done from like a standing versus supine. Oh, supine is when someone's laying on their back in a guard. So imagine like in MMA, like, you know, someone's like laying down trying to throw up kicks and someone's standing. It's mostly done from a position such as that. But it can absolutely be done from like a more of a low guard type position. Even like, you know, like through like a half butterfly. I do it from like whenever you open a closed guard and you can staple a leg down, so I still can have a far side underhook and you just like hips pop up, heist through. Kyler Phillips was just like smoking Rob Font's guard with it, dude.
Through. And so dynamic too. Like
doing it so good that I thought Rob Font had no shot.
Dude, that's what I thought.
I was like, this dude is significantly better.
He was a huge favorite. And that first round, he was just shredding his guard.
Shredding him.
And again, like in a way, so there's acceptable. All right, let's go like through this. There's like no jiu-jitsu, which is like the first fight on this card. There was a fight that we talked about like last week or whatever, where some lady didn't have any jiu-jitsu. Like there's just like you've taken like one jiu-jitsu class in your life, and it's just what are you doing here, right? Then you've got guys who have like barely acceptable. They know just enough to like kind of slow the other guy down, and then you've guys who are like good for MMA, so they can actually stop dudes who are better than them at like enacting their jiu-jitsu, who are like a little bit better than them. And then you have guys who are like really, really good, right? And they look like they could be doing like jiu-jitsu tournaments, and that's what this looked like,
bro.
You know what I mean? And Rob Font does not suck at all.
No, Rob Font's terrific.
So like the fact that he was doing that to Rob Font, in my mind, was just like so incredible, you know?
How about Rob Font being at TriStar now?
Dude, I had no clue about that. No idea. He walks out. I was like, yo, he's with Faraz.
So we're assuming also that that
Cater,
Calvin Cater, I almost called him Clay Collard. Calvin Cater is also at TriStar with him.
I would imagine so. No,
I would like to get some interviews on that. Not us doing interviews, but I would like to listen, like figure out, like, yo, what's up with that.
So I have a little bit more information. I saw a post from Tyson Chartier after the fight, and it was all super congratulatory. It was all like super positive. It was like, hey, like that's my guy Rob. Like this is like my first time like watching it from like not being in the corner, but like I'm so happy for him, and like thank you to Faraz for like, you know, being that dude. And
oh wow, okay, great. That's how.
So like it's all on good terms.
That's what I was hoping,
or at least publicly on good terms. You know what I mean? Exactly what I was hoping, because you and I are both big fans of Tyson Chartier.
Big fan.
And
Rob Font though.
Yeah.
Rob
and
Font was but like, so I mean, I know you're a big fan of Tyson, but like one of the main reasons why I'm a big fan of Tyson Chartier was we had an experience with him backstage.
Exactly.
At TFFC, and you know, like I wasn't involved in it at all. I was just like an outsider looking in on it, but it was using Rob Font as the example to, you know.
Who was standing right there and I didn't recognize him.
Yeah. So, yeah.
To my defense, it was COVID time, so he had a mask on. But, yeah.
And then Rob Font just like stormed back and won this fight.
Dude, he just put on 2 rounds of pure pressure striking.
Dude, pure pressure strike. Like just beautiful pressure striking. I just hurt my neck.
That's how good the pressure striking was.
So good. Oh my goodness.
Stretch it out. We're getting old. But yeah, it was just beautiful how he like. Okay, so there's a couple of things when you're pressure striking. One, you have to do it at your like end range, right? If you get too close, you're gonna get clinched or taken down. So he did a good job of doing it at the end range, and also you have to put enough volume into it. We talked about this last time, I believe, too. Like if someone's shooting on you or whatever, it feels like, oh, I'm gonna do one shot and like be prepared to like defend the takedown or whatever. But if you just have pure volume, the other guy has to move around and reset. And even if he changes levels, you can feel that, you know what I mean? And change levels with him or slide back or whatever. And he did both of those things. Crazy volume at his end range.
At his end range and stayed at that end range. The ability to stuff all the shots and the ability whenever a clinch was created in his offensive favor to disengage from that clinch. So how do I explain this? Right? Like, and like, you know, you heard Faraz. So like I do believe that was a Faraz thing here. Where like, you know, sometimes you're just when you're pressure striking somebody, you take over the space and now you're an offensive cage.
Right.
And like kind of resisting that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so easy to fall into.
It,
Yeah.
right? And now you're in a grappling, because you're in the dominant grappling position, but now you're in a grappling position. So clearing out of that and staying and striking space, or avoiding that fall into it,
And having the mentality to lose the first round like that, to get truly outclassed on the ground, and then come back and have such belief in yourself that you can do that for the next 2 rounds. Very impressed with Rob Font. I mean, we've always known that he was a good fighter, but I didn't realize it was like that. He's really good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, hey, great performance by Rob Font. All right, that moves us to the main event.
Yep.
All right, Anthony Hernandez versus Michel Pereira.
So I was
big fans of Pereira here.
Not me. I am not a fan of Pereira, right? Like, if I think he's showboaty without the skills to back it up. I also really hate his backflip pass, because when he fought Nico Price, for example, he did his backflip pass, stomped on his head. Nico was like holding his head, and they just let it continue, right? And I'm not saying he was going to win that fight necessarily, but like, they should have at the very least stopped it, And he's done that multiple times, and I can't stand that. It just drives me crazy. So not a huge Pereira fan. And Pereira came out and did what Pereira does for the first 10 seconds, just dropped bombs. I think he landed 9 strikes in this fight, and they're all in the first 10 seconds. And Hernandez was hurt to the body, pretty bad too.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, did he come back. That dude is tough. And I'd be willing to bet this is a really good example of, how people talk about being in shape, how that gives you the ability to absorb damage better. Great example of that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure.
So yeah, he got beat up for the first 10 seconds, and then he just turned it on wrestling wise. He was just in on shots. He was taking him down, beating him up on the ground. Great control. Finally put him away in the 5th with strikes. I would say, in my mind, there was a couple things that stuck out. One was the fact that Pereira is obviously explosive, right? And that's what he's most dangerous at doing. How do you take that away? You clinch someone, you make him work, and you shoot takedowns, right? And then that way the guy's got to try to lift up and defend those takedowns. Even if you don't finish it, you've taken a little bit of that juice out of the system. You know what I mean? And I thought he did a great job of that, and also wasn't discouraged when his takedowns didn't we've all seen fights where someone tries to get a takedown, tries to get another takedown, those get stuffed, and they're just wow,
and then that's it. Now. And then they're done shooting.
Hernandez realized the value in that and just broke him down with that and kept staying on it. And I love that. I think that's really, really important to do. The only thing I think that I would have preferred to have seen a little bit more of is some variety of striking intensity on the ground. So instead of just constant little shots, little shot, boom, 2 or 3 big shots, and then chill for a little bit. Maybe go on the other side. And then that way Pereira's always guessing, because Pereira did just enough to hang on for 4.5 rounds or whatever it was.
Right.
You know what I mean? But nothing else. And I think that had he have done that, he might have been able to put him away a little earlier. But overall, I thought it was a fantastic fight for Hernandez.
I thought it was a great performance. No, I mean, took that lower shot, bit down, fought through it, and then just, echoing everything you said, you nailed it. Dude, look at the takedowns. Just look at the takedowns. Let me run you some takedown stats. 10 of 29. This man attempted 29 takedowns in how long? 22 minutes and 22 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's incredible.
That's so impressive.
That's incredible, dude. That is my kind of fighter right there.
And that's what you expect to see out of flyweights.
Right, yeah. Here goes the thing, dude. So, if someone was like, yeah, dude, you shot 34% on your takedowns, somebody might look at that and be like, that's not a good percentage. Mm-hmm. I don't. I look at that's a phenomenal percentage.
Absolutely.
How many takedowns you shoot? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what matters. You know what I mean?
That's a really good point. If it was 3 takedowns and he had a 33% takedown rate, I'd be like, he only got 1, whatever. But as soon as you just up those numbers, now I'm like, oh, he's exactly what we talked about, staying relentless on that takedown.
Dude, 10 of 29, 34%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But 10 takedowns in 22 minutes. He got 10 takedowns.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. And so some people be like, oh, 34%, that's not a very good efficiency rate. And I'm like, well, it depends on what happens. in the other 66% of the time.
Right. They were
Right?
valuable shots.
What are the 60? What is the failure? What's the 66%? Is the failure that your face got shoved in the mat and then you got spun around and was in rear turtle? Is the failure that you had to retreat back to a guard? Is the
Right.
failure that you ate a knee? Is the failure that you came out and then like a combination was landed on you?
That's a really
was
good
the
point.
failure that you were in a guillotine choke that they were able to reverse you with? Like what's happening in that
Right.
66%? In that 66%, let's say I'm in on the single, you're defending, and I clear and I come up, I come up with uppercut hook. You know what I mean? I didn't get the takedown. That's going to be an 0 for 1 on my takedown sheet. But, I mean, that was a way for me I just landed a combination.
Exactly.
How is that single leg, me snagging up that single leg and you throwing a whizzer in and kicking out, and then me landing like a 5-6 or a
4-3 or
4-3,
whatever, yeah.
like whatever side of the single you're on. How's that any different than me setting it up with a jab?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Or like a clinch position. Think if you get like a collar tie and you use
Yeah.
that to hit like an uppercut.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, but he didn't get full plumb and land some knees. Yeah, but it still set up those punches or elbows
Right.
or whatever it is. That's a really great point.
Yeah, I mean, dude. Okay, so I throw a jab, you parry it, but then I land a 4-3.
Yeah.
Right? You parry my jab, uppercut, hook.
Right. Was that
All
jab
right.
worthless?
Was it? Yeah. Oh, they'd be like, oh, how'd that work? Well, you drew the parry out, which pulled the defense away, and that's what opened up, the uppercut and the hook. Oh, okay, cool. Great. Everybody like, great setup.
Right.
Setup. You know what I mean? I snag up a single, you whizzer out. But great. Dude, that's great. You know
Now,
what I
on the
mean?
opposite side of that, if you threw 10 jabs in the first minute and all 10 of them just got caught and you did nothing else after it, then it's like, oh, that's a problem. You know what I mean? And the same thing on the takedowns. Exactly what you're saying is what's happening in those stuff takedowns.
Yeah.
I love how you
Dude,
phrased
10 of
that.
29. Dude, that's such a sick stat. Like, that's such a dog stat.
Yes.
That's
and
a
that's what you
dog
need against
stat.
Pereira, especially. I
Yeah.
think that's super impressive. I love it.
Could you imagine shooting 29 takedowns?
Dude, especially he's huge. He's at what, a middleweight? Like
Yeah, that's a middleweight. And dude, what a dog. Dog stat. That's my favorite stat of the day. Mm-hmm. Right there.
I have some that I think you might enjoy later, but
All right,
I think that'll still be
cool.
your favorite. Yeah, overall super impressed with Hernandez. Very happy. Michel Pereira is one of those guys who he's so explosive and difficult to deal with. I think he's just going to smash a lot of the lesser athletes.
Right.
But I don't think he really belongs in top 10. You know what I mean? So I think he'll probably be a gatekeeper around this area.
And his fights are kind of interesting, too.
Yeah, they're interesting and they're fun to watch.
To other people.
Yeah, not us.
No.
We know. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this. I see you have one more thing in the notes here about this fight. Anything you care to share, or should we move on?
Yeah, so what's up there? Well, why don't you tell him?
So this is interesting. I thought it might have been a...
We have a shared document in which we can write notes in, to help, keep track of stuff
remember
during
stuff.
fights and stuff. And
So I thought this might have been a typo. It says liver shots and orcas.
Yep.
What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so, all right, listen. Here goes the situation. I was watching something on orcas one day, and it was like these orcas were attacking these sharks, right? And they were eating only their livers. And they were attacking them boom, right in the right spot to just eat their liver, right? And then they'd let them the shark would obviously die.
Right.
But they're just, boom, not doing anything else, not going after anything else. Not just killing them and then chomping it up and eating whatever.
Right, they go right to the
literally
nutrient-dense spot.
pinpoint to the liver. And initially I'm like, that's crazy that they know where the liver is, right? To me, I just was like, man, how do they know where the liver is? And then I was thinking, I was like, what's weird? I don't know if this is for you, but think about your organs, right? I know where, a good majority of my organs are. I can feel my liver, right? Right now it's okay, I know my stomach's here, right?
Yeah.
But I can feel it because I just ate lunch. So I can feel my stomach, right?
Okay.
I always can feel my liver. I can physically feel it at all times. But I couldn't until I had gotten liver shotted. And then however many years ago, probably 2007, when I first ate my first liver shot, now I can my liver I think still hurts the most dullest thing, right? So
I can think of a teep I hit you with 10 years ago that you might be feeling.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying, right? I know exactly where my liver is, and we all know fighters, right? And we all know some dumb fighters.
Yeah.
We know some dumb, people Not saying that they're dumb at fighting, but they're dumb at life.
Yeah.
And if you were like to play like that game Operation, these motherfuckers wouldn't know where shit was.
Yeah.
They don't know shit, right?
Yeah.
But every single one of them knows where the liver is.
That's true.
Every single one of those fighters could be like, yeah, liver's right there. They could trace it out, dude. They could put their finger on you and trace it, right? And I was like, dude, these Orcas, they're like the fighters, bro. Dude, they know where the liver is. And what probably happened was, you know, through years of just like
evolution
smashing and evolution, right? Like, and like, you know, like eating this, eating that, or just like having to do all this extra work, they were able to like get really efficient and be like, we hit them, boom, right there. That's the kill shot, and that's all we want.
You want to know something interesting?
Yeah.
And I think this might apply to orcas too, because they're really smart. They did this in, I want to say crows or blackbird, some sort of, you know, smart bird. Is they would teach them something, I forget how, something about humans, and then those birds' children would know the same things. And I forget if it was recognizing faces or something. And so there's some sort of like passed down knowledge. And so orcas must have just over, you know, again, however much time of evolution have like gotten that in. Now, I do have to say, I'm kind of bummed that we burned this because orca would have been such a good code for liver shot.
Bro, it could have still been till now. Wait, you the one who just burnt it. If you would have just not said that, we could have had that.
No. Now we can. Maybe we'll still use it. But
Well, here's the thing.
else.
Like, I never call for like liver. Like, I've never called for a liver shot.
Yeah, but it could be for.
Have you? Did we call for that?
Sort of. We have a. I'll tell you later.
All right, hold on. I'm not done.
Okay, go ahead.
So you're like, oh, these crows, like, you know, we would teach them something and then their children would know it. And like, you know, like the whole thing. That brought me to another thing. Genetic memory. Are you aware of genetic memory?
Right. I mean, that's the same concept. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. It's like, you know, like, for example, like, you know, like, I wrestled my whole life, blah, blah, blah. Like, my kids have like some natural wrestling tendencies. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, it's like, oh, it's genetic memory. It's like, that's crazy. Yeah.
And that's one of those things too, where then you also have to ask yourself, like, how much of that is, because I mean, absolutely, I think part of that. And dude, oh man, so much goes into this. So I think you and I are great examples of this. I naturally gravitate towards striking, and I'm like good at it. Like, I can see something like kind of complex striking, I'm just like, oh, I can do that. And like grappling, I'm not bad at grappling, but like I can't do that. I need to drill things. It doesn't just click in that same way. You know what I mean? And I think you have the opposite, where you are just like, you can watch some like wild grappling stuff and you can just go do it. You know what I mean? And so
a majority of it, there are some things I see and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go do that, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, naturally, like we kind of gravitate towards different sorts of things. So it makes sense that your kids would have that same thing. But then also we can look at the nature versus nurture, because have your kids ever like grown up watching like Muay Thai and stuff, or do they just grow up watching? When you turn on your TV, what comes on?
I have my Roku set up so that way the home screen is Flow Wrestling.
Exactly, right? So like your kids have just been exposed to.
So even when we're gonna go watch like Miss Rachel or Dr. Seuss or Sesame Street, you have to go through Flow Wrestling first.
So you're gonna catch like at least one single leg before you get into whatever else.
Yeah.
So it's like interesting to know like how much of that. Anyways, neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. No, that's super interesting though,
isn't it?
Because, oh man, I'm wondering how else I can use this to my advantage. Whatever, we'll figure it out.
There are some cool things about, and I use this a lot in college, getting an input like right before you go to sleep. And I swear that works. And I'm pretty sure there's some.
Wait, what? Explain a little bit more, because this might run me into something funny.
Okay, so I was really big into this in college, and I don't know if there's any like scientific literature to back this up, or if I just like did it. I forget how, but I believe there is like an actual mechanism that supports this like being a valid thing. But what I would do is, so I would go to class, I'd write my notes, right? And then when a test came up, I'd go through all my notes and I'd distill it down to like one sheet, right? And write that all out and like fill in the rest by memory and all the details, whatever. And then, so yeah, I do that like a week out from a test or something, and I just have this one sheet and I could just review it for like 5 minutes. Boom, now it's fresh in the head. Review it 5 minutes later, boom, whatever. And I would do that right before I went to sleep. Like, it was the last thing I saw. And I swear that cements it in more.
Dude, that's so interesting. So we might be accidentally doing that. So Mickey is little like shyster. right? So he don't want to go to bed at night, right?
You mean he's a mini you?
Yeah. So 4 years old, right? Doesn't want to go to bed at night and knows how to play me, right? Cannot play Katie though. Katie does not get hustled. By
Who would
Mickey.
know how to play you better than you?
Yeah, right. So it's time to go to bed, right? We read the story, the nighttime stories or whatever. He goes, "Oh, I got a plan." I'm like, oh, "What? What's your plan?" He's like, what if we stay up and watch wrestling?" Because he knows, like he was. I mean, I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm looking at Katie. I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, he doesn't even go to real school. Like, what's he need to go to sleep for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe we should watch wrestling. I don't know.
Dude. That's so funny, bro.
It's like, no, it's bedtime. So well, what if we watch wrestling?
Oh my god.
Yeah, he was at his grandma's house this weekend, and his cousin was over, and they were playing family, right? And his cousin was the mom, and he was the dad. He's like, okay, I'm gonna be. And they're like, oh, Mickey, you're the dad. He goes, okay, I'm gonna go sit down and watch wrestling. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go sit down and watch wrestling.
Yo, that's so funny. Because like you imagine like little kids playing house, like you know, it's like a 1950s style. Dad's
Yeah.
like sitting there reading the newspaper or something. He's just like, nah, dads watch wrestling.
Yeah, that's what he identifies. That's what dads do. Like, what do you mean? That's what dads do.
Oh my god,
They watch
that's so
wrestling.
funny.
All right, that's enough of my personal life.
Oh, bro.
All right, let's move on. UFC 308. All right, big pay-per-view.
Oh man.
Did you buy it?
Not yet. No.
Are you gonna buy it?
We'll find out.
I'm gonna buy it today because I think if you buy it today, you get it cheaper.
That's right. Yeah, if you get it ahead of time.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
It's hot in here.
Dude, it's super hot. Do you want to take like a 5-minute break or no?
No, it's
Okay,
power
we'll
through.
gut it out. So we're not going to dive through every single prelim.
Yeah.
That's going to take quite some time. Yeah, we'll probably review a bunch of them. With that said,
The more we get into like this like kind of groove of like, you know, like preview, review fights type thing, because I'm just really into it. I love how the current events are getting pushed in, you know, instead of having to think up topics every week.
it's also, I think, more entertaining. But
I mean, I'm having a better time doing it. So probably get a little bit more in the like as
yeah, we'll get in the weeds
as time unfolds.
Exactly.
We'll get in the like, you know, like by UFC 13, we'll probably be like, oh, this prelim, oh. But yeah, but I just don't care right now.
But today, we're each going to discuss one of the prelims, and then we'll go through the whole main card. So, given that my prelim is first, I'm going to talk about this one first.
Let's go.
The one I'm pretty excited about is, I think it's Farid Basharat against Victor Hugo.
Wow.
So,
What a fight. Victor Hugo recently got upset in the first round of the CJI by Lucas Kennard.
at heavy,
hook.
at the the heavier division, and now here he is making bantamweight.
Different Victor Hugo.
So, anyways, Basharat and his brother were both on Dana White's Contender Series, the same one. They both won dominant fights. I think I saw that.
Did they
Actually.
both get signed?
They both got signed, and then they both fought on another card together, and I think they both won
That's
that as
miserable.
well. Yes, it is, but it's fun for the fans. But anyways,
So is this Victor Hugo's UFC debut?
I believe so.
Because it says last fight is blank, whereas
Yeah, so I think he had one scheduled and then it fell through or something like that. Okay. So he's 25-4,
it's crazy.
and he has like a ton of obviously success outside of the UFC, but you just don't know what level that is, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Basharat probably has some better wins, and he's only 12-0, so way less experience. But he's a massive favorite, and I think this is one of those fights where we're going to see one of the next generation stars or potential stars. Who's I don't want to get too premature on that. But like they're giving him one of these fights where like he's clearly fighting a good guy who knows how to win and has some skills. But I think we all expect Basharat to win, and it's a chance for him to show off his skills against someone who is also good. Now anything could happen in a fight, but I do think we're going to see Basharat just outclass Hugo in this fight. Basharat's just super well rounded. He comes from a good gym. He's at Extreme Couture right now. So I'm pretty excited to see how this fight goes.
Click one stats thing over.
Which one wins by?
Yep. All right. Interesting.
Yeah. So, what we're interested in it is Basharat's wins 42% by decision, 50% by submission, 8% by KO. whereas Hugo has 28% by KO, 40% by submission, and 32% by decision. So, Hugo I expect to be a really exciting fighter.
Click grappling for me.
It's just going to be a question about, who has the better skills.
Okay, yeah, this is telling me a lot. I'm a numbers guy. Hit the odds.
Minus 470 for Basharat.
I'm going to be placing my money on Basharat.
I think that's a good bet. Not
I'm
great
gonna
odds.
I'm going to run money line. Here goes the thing. Not great odds. So a minus 470. Let's say I throw, $10 on there. What am I going to pull back? Like $1.98?
I'm not good with numbers like that. You know this.
Yeah. Minus 500. Yeah. I don't know. All right. Neither here nor there, but if you think he's going to win, that's the one that's going to give you your money.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm excited to see that fight, though. What prelim are you excited for?
So I want to talk about the feature prelim. My prelim of the night is Jeff Neal versus Rafael Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos, former lightweight champion of the world, has had a really good run up at 170.
Sure
right?
has.
Fought for an interim title at 170, losing that to Colby Covington. Jeff Neal, very solid.
Beast.
Top 10 ranked, has been in the top 10 for a while. If I'm not mistaken, his last loss was to the champ, Bilal Muhammad.
I believe so.
Yeah, that might be a little off there, but whatever. I just think it's like a really good, solid fight. I believe the rankings here are 10-14. How old is Dos Anjos right now? He's got to be 39 to 40, 41, 42, 70.
Can I get Dos Anjos? There we go.
There you go. Okay.
We got an age here.
It doesn't tell us. Okay. Doesn't matter, but he's definitely, up there. Let's look at his last couple fights. Scroll down, right? 1-1. Stop. All right. So he's coming off a 2-fight losing streak. Last win.
Oh, yeah.
Last one was over Brandon Barberina. Bam, bam. Like that guy. But, lost to Vicente Luque and Gamrot. But
Beasts. Yeah.
Now, Gamrot, that fight was at 155?
I would imagine so.
Man, I didn't know he dropped back down to 155. So that actually, that makes me wonder. That makes me worried, right? The fact that, his body, I thought, was adapted to 170 and he could still get down to 155 for that Gamrot fight. If that's the case, that would make me lean Jeff Neal, who I know is a solid size welterweight.
Exactly what I was going to say. I think that Dos Anjos is kind of a tweener, and I think Jeff Neal is a true, big 170.
Click on Jeff Neal for me.
He's very powerful, too. He's a strong dude,
Yeah, he is a strong dude. Scroll down. I want to see his last three.
How did I get that last time? Man, we need a producer.
We'll work on getting a producer. Anybody know any producers out there who are, really motivated by no money? Let me know. All the way down. Here we go. Right here. Oh, he lost to Ian Geary in his last fight.
It's hard to beat purple shorts.
Yeah. What happened in that Rachmanov fight? Did that get canceled?
That must have. But he would have lost to Rachmanov for sure.
All right, but he has a win over Vicente Luque. And you know what? MMA math doesn't always work, but it mostly works. So I'm going to be going Jeff Neal in the feature prelim. Jeff Neal is coming in at a minus 305 on the money line. Makes sense. Maybe I parlay your prelim with mine. In fact, it's going down. We're recording on my phone. In future, whenever we buy a camera, I will make that bet on air.
Right on.
All right, let's touch this main card.
All right, so first fight of the main card, we have Shara Magomedov against Armen Petrosyan. I think that's how you say his name.
Yep.
So Magomedov, I think the UFC is trying to really hype him up.
He has to fight over
exactly
out
of the
there,
States because he has some sort of visa issue or whatever. Or actually, it might have been an assault charge or something like that. I forget.
Hold on a second. What time are these fights?
Oh, these are at 3 o'clock, I believe.
Like our time, 3 o'clock?
I think. Oh, it says here 2.
Okay. So, we'll be able to watch this before our fighters fight.
Right.
Because if this is at 2, it should end around 5, which is the time we're going to have to be at the venue. And I am sure that they'll be okay with me being a half hour late.
Maybe we watch them together.
Dude, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm still going to buy it, though, so Katie can watch it. But,
Right on.
all right. Scroll up.
Okay, so anyways, I'm kind of excited for this fight. I think they're putting it as the first main card fight for a reason. And again, I think they're trying to prop up Magomedov. And I do think he's going to win this fight. You know, he's got more experience. He's got a lot of experience outside of his MMA career. He's got like a bunch of kickboxing fights from what I saw. And he just like wins, right? He's just one of those dudes who is a winner. With that said, I don't think he's going to become a crazy star. I think the fact that he can't fight in the States is really going to hurt him. I think the fact that, you know, he's got a serious eye issue is going to long-term, you know, hurt him. Maybe he'll be the next Bisping, but I don't believe so. So like, I don't think he's going to be the next, you know, big thing at this division. But it is interesting, and this fight I think is going to be a banger. Now, with that said, Petrosian has some good wins, and it appears to be like a, you know, pretty, you know, aggressive fighter, I think. So I think this will be a good fight, but I think Magomedov's going to win. You got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely Magomedov has got to be the favorite here. I'm not super interested in him, generally because of the grappling tournament issue.
Oh, that's right. Didn't he like
fighting
someone?
You know, like there's some lost stuff that could be lost in the weeds here, but it looked like it was at an ADCC trials or something of that because of based on the scoreboard that I was seeing, and he got heel hooked and then kicked the guy afterwards.
That's right.
From what I understand, he freaking tapped. I watched it. He tapped, but then he said he didn't tap, right? And then he was also potentially mad at the rule set because he didn't want heel hooks to be allowed because of his UFC stuff. And I'm like, well, if it's in a
tournament,
yeah, I'm like, you can ask for those things if you're doing like a super fight match, right? Like, you know, to be like, well, the UFC doesn't want me doing that. But if you're going to enter in to the tournament, those rules are the rules, right? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I don't like that.
That sours me up on him a little bit, and you know, I just don't care.
I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I'm excited to watch it.
I'm not even watch it,
but I don't. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
All right, moving up to the light heavyweights, we got Ankalaev versus Rakic.
I think it's Rakic. I'm not sure, but okay. This is a fun one. So, Ankalaev. Dude, he's a winner. He's one of those guys who just has like a ton of experience, a ton of wins, and he's just a beast. He's got submission wins, he's got knockout wins. I think he's fought some better guys. I think he has wins over some better guys. If we want to do some MMA math, he has a win over Volkan Ozdemir, who Rakic has a split decision loss to. So like, you know, who knows? Yeah. But that's, you know, I think the most recent matchup we saw. Rakic hasn't won since 2021, and he's on a 2-fight losing skid. And Ankalaev is just like building momentum. So I think that, you know, I think Ankalaev wins. I don't know how he's going to win, but I think he does win. Now, a fun fact about Ankalaev, right? All these wins, right? 19-1-1. I looked up his record to see like how he was winning, who he was winning and stuff. Dude, his first 3 AMI fights he lost.
What?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
What?
Yeah.
He started off 0-3?
He started off 0-3.
That's so sick.
Yeah, super sick.
And now he's 19-1-1 as a pro.
Right. Yeah, dude. I think that's like really cool.
AMI fighters, look at that. Like, don't lose hope.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Do the right things. Take it in stride. Try to make progress and just be the best you can be. And maybe you, too, will be 19-1-1 fighting for the number 1 contender spot in the UFC.
So I do think Ankalaev wins, and I also would like to see him win because I think he poses the most interesting matchup against Poatan. And Rakic's one of those guys, you know, he's explosive, he's good. I just don't see him having the skills to give the same fight that Ankalaev can against Poatan.
I agree.
So, yeah, I'm really excited for that fight. I think that's going to be really cool.
I also think that fight is like a limbo fight because it would appear as if it's, you know, for the next in line, the number 1 contender spot for Alex Pereira's light heavyweight title bout, but that's definitely not certain with the flirting with heavyweight
Yep.
going down. This could it push you into probably like at least an interim title spot. If Alex
changes weight classes,
goes up, I could see them running Ankalaev versus
whoever
for, or I mean the winner versus whoever for an interim title spot.
Yeah. No,
or if not, then a title spot.
It's definitely an interesting fight.
Right.
You got anything else to say about that one?
Nope, that's what I had.
All right, so next up we have, oh man, I hope I'm not messing this up. I think it's Laron Murphy against Dan Ige. I've seen him fight before too. I should know how to say his name. So he's a British guy, and we've seen Brits with like mixed success. We've seen some like really good Brits, and we've seen some guys who not so good. Now he's 14-0, and he's one of those dudes who, again, I think this is one of those things that's underrated. He's a winner, right? And we see this with some of our guys, maybe some of the wrestlers, guys who have a long track record of winning. There's something about that. There's like a mental thing, and I believe, hold on, let me see if it's in the notes here. That's right. Yeah, he was undefeated even all the way back in his amateur career, right?
Oh, wow.
So he's just one of those guys who has it,
Could you click on him? I would like to see more about him. I definitely want to go down to his all the way to the bottom, please.
See who he's
right there. Up. Yep. That's what I want to see.
Quality wins.
Yeah. Quality wins. Most recent win over Edson Barboza.
Now, granted, Barboza is on the tail end of his career, but he's still a beast, So I'm very interested in this fight. I do think that Murphy is going to win this. He just appears to have more skills, more momentum. He's, dude's clearly a beast. With that said, Ige's got crazy power,
Yeah, run me Ige the same way you're running me.
Got
Murphy.
you. Which I figured out how to do it. You just got to click on him, not his name.
Very good. Yeah, so here goes the thing about Ige. Let's not forget what he did in his last fight. He came in. I'm taking Ige.
Interesting.
I'm taking Ige all the way. Ige all the way. Yeah. Run me go back to the fight. So Ige, for those of you who may be forgetting, he fought on a couple hours notice.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, and plus money. I'm definitely taking a flyer on Ige. Throw a tenner on him.
That's a good one to choose an underdog on, because Ige, one, he's very, very good. You know what I mean? And two,
well, he gave Diego Lopez
power.
a great fight. What card was that? Was that the 302 card?
I don't
Doesn't matter. But what was it? It was supposed to be Ortega and Lopez, and some stuff happened where Ortega couldn't fight, and Dan Ige
popped up on 2 hours notice or something.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it was I'm here. We can both weigh in at 165 and run it, and he did it, and it was a good fight. So I'm gonna go Dan Ige. I'm taking my flyer on Dan Ige that night.
Yeah, I think Murphy wins, but I do not think that's a bad pick at all.
Right.
All right, so co-main event. This one's interesting. Now we got some serious star power here. Robert Whitaker against Khamzat Chimaev. Mike, you and I, biggest Chimaev fans, right? We think that
I'm not a huge Chimaev fan.
We don't think he's overrated at all. We think his wrestling's the best in the UFC's ever seen, right?
No, I don't think that. Recently, a video has surfaced of him wrestling with the Olympic champion from Uzbekistan, Jamalov, former Russian. Jamalov, probably most famous for having, a good rivalry against Zarabek Sidakov, who has got to be considered the best 74-kilo wrestler in the world right now. Why was Sidakov not the Olympic champion this year? Russia withdrew from the Olympics, mainly because wrestlers such as their great champion Abdul Rashid Sajalayev and Zarbek Sidakov and Yuguev, all reigning Olympic champions, were denied entry into the Olympics. The IOC denied it, so they were like, "No, we ain't coming."
Yeah,
Jamalov transferred out of Russia to Uzbekistan, because he was solidly behind Sidakov, so to have his shot at world medals, just in general, and he had a good run. But yeah, as I was saying, a video of him and Chimaev had surfaced, and people are really reading into it. Man, look how good he's doing with this Olympic champion and stuff. Well, the Olympic champion is a 145 pounder.
Right.
Right? 74 kilos is 163 pounds. They weigh in and then wrestle
Right.
within
So
hours.
it's not like he's
So they're not cutting.
crazy. Yeah.
Right. Right. For example, Sidakov has just now recently recommitted to wrestling, but was in the States 2 months ago, training MMA with Henry Cejudo.
No, that's sick.
Talking about I'm gonna fight MMA now since they won't let me wrestle in the Olympics. And he was like, "Yeah, I'll fight 145."
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to like let you know, like
Crazy
it's
size
it's a 185er versus a 145er in that regard. And he was, you don't know the intensity in which they were going,
Right.
and they weren't wrestling freestyle. They were doing like grappling.
The other thing is, so you made a really good point. I was talking about Chimaev and how like he's got this great wrestling, but like, you know, is it really that great? I don't know. And you broke it down perfectly for me. You were like, listen, he has international experience, but he was wrestling for Sweden. Like,
Yeah.
who are the great Swedish wrestlers that you know of? And I was like, oh, that's a really good point, dude. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of level are we looking at here? And I think, and so what I have written in my notes here is that I think Whitaker beats him, and I think he kind of like exposes him as being like, I think he's going to be basically like a top 5 gatekeeper. So in the same way that I think Michel Pereira is going to be like a top 15 gatekeeper, I think that's what Chimaev is going to be. I think that he kind of lacks some of the skills to be like the top guy. And this might be me being a little bit of a hater because I think Chimaev is a little bit overrated, and I think he just kind of comes across as like not being like a super cool guy. And yeah, I just think that Robert Whitaker has the skills
I need you to click on Whitaker
to shut down Chimaev's offense. And yeah, I think he's going to win this.
All
With
the way
that
down.
said, Whitaker is not old, but he's got a lot of fight experience, and eventually that damage adds up. I don't know what his chin is like. I don't know if he's sparring hard, you know,
Load more.
what the deal is. But, you know, obviously Chimaev could catch him. And again, I'm very biased in this. I very much want Whitaker to win, but I do think he will.
Load more. Yeah, okay, here goes my thing with Whitaker. Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
the Whitaker Chimaev fight, I don't know. I'm torn on this fight. I'm probably gonna not touch it with money. I really think that Prime Whitaker beats Chimaev. I think that. But is he still Prime Whitaker? And that's the question on what we're doing in this fight. You know, yeah. It's going to be a tough one for me. I would say Prime Whitaker wins this. It's how close to his prime is he still. If he's still his best self, I'm going to take him in this fight. If not, you know, if he's on his way out, I could see, you know,
Chimaev pulling it
Chimaev
out. Now,
pulling
here's
it
the
out.
other thing too: is Chimaev is notorious for being like frail. Like he gets sick often and badly. And from what I understand, it's because he just like trains stupid hard all the time.
Yeah.
And doesn't, you know, rest. He doesn't periodize his training, you know, at all. So, you know, he might be going in with injuries, or maybe he was sick and didn't get a, you know, great training camp in, and maybe his cardio is not great, which it's known to, you know, be suspect anyways. And I don't see him just like ragdolling Whitaker the way that he did with like Kevin Holland or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, certainly not. Run me the odds. No, I'm not putting those two in the same ballpark. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
All right, so Whitaker's coming in at a plus 180. You know what? I'm throwing my money on Whitaker. I'm going to go 10 on Whitaker, but, you know, I'm not feeling like the most confident I've ever felt
Yeah.
on that. I could definitely see myself losing that 10.
That sounds fair. You got any other insights in that fight?
No, just like, I mean, I'll be rooting for Whitaker. I don't know though, like, cause I kind of might want to root for like, yeah, I'll be rooting for Whitaker. But like, if Chimaev wins, you know, like I like a fight down. I like to keep him looking pretty for a fight with Bo Nickel down the line.
I'm very excited for that. I think that that's the fight that will expose his true level of wrestling.
Yeah, my thing with that though is like, is Bo rising fast enough?
Right, to catch up.
You know what I mean? So
Well, here's the thing. If Chimaev wins at least one or two out of his next like 3-ish fights, because he doesn't fight often, you know what I mean? And if Bo keeps fighting often, I do think that they will get a chance to pass each other, you know?
yeah, I think Bo needs to pick up for that fight. I think he needs to pick up like the pace of his fight. like
Yeah.
like pacing of like
Right.
more fights.
Yeah.
With that being said, like when you look at Chimaev, like I mean, this is going to tell us a lot. When you look at Chimaev versus Whitaker, it's going to give you like a better view of like, oh, well, like how could Chimaev do against like DD, like the top of the
Right,
division.
exactly. And I could be wrong. Maybe he is that dude, you know. Speaking of Dracus, what do you think happens if Whitaker wins? Do you think they give him the rematch against Dracus? And then if he wins that,
Yeah.
do they give Izzy the rematch against Whitaker if he can win one more?
Yeah, I think
And
so.
then he could be a 3-time champion?
Yeah, I think so. How many 3-time champions are there?
I don't think any.
What about Randy Couture? He didn't. I'm not. I
Oh,
know.
maybe across weight classes, actually. Because he... Actually, no. Did he ever regain it at 205?
I don't know. We'll have to look into that. You know, if we had a
He
producer.
must have, because he was heavyweight champ before he fought Sylvia, right?
Oh yeah, Tim Sylvia. Yeah, he was retired and came back to that.
Right, and when I'm saying earlier he was a heavyweight champ against
Vitor Belfort.
oh, that's who he beat for the championship?
I think that was at heavyweight when he got poked in the eye. Or
Right.
was that light heavyweight? That might have been light heavyweight. Let's
Whatever.
yeah.
Doesn't
let's move
matter.
past that.
Neither here nor there.
Main event.
All right, we got
Your featherweight title fight.
Ilia Topuria against the BMF himself, Max Holloway. Dude, what a great fight. So much star power in this one. We have, you know, the rising young prospect. I don't even know if you call him a prospect anymore because he's the champ. But, you know, like the surging young star against the tested vet in Max Holloway.
Yeah,
First off, what is your prediction?
Max Holloway.
Okay, see, I think Topuria wins this.
Yeah, because
How-
you're doing it like through thought.
So here's the thing: is this is thought that is still piercing through my emotions because I want Max to win.
So
really
that's
want
even
Max to
more
win.
of like a thing. Like I want Max to win. I want Max to win.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I want more than I want Max to win?
What?
Topuria to lose.
You don't like him?
No.
He does come across as like,
A cunt?
yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he does, you know, have some douchey tendencies. I saw a couple of things, clips of him talking, and I was like, I don't know if things are getting lost in translation or what, but yeah.
Dude, I hope things are getting lost in translation because he is a dick.
Yeah, he does not seem like he's like a fun dude to hang out with. You know?
Yeah.
But and also I really like Max, so like I do hope Max wins. With that said, and okay, so I have this in the notes too. Topuria is a good example of someone who like I really like him as a fighter, but as a dude, I'm like, I don't like
Yeah.
him. You know what I mean? Because
Because I
like,
do like watching him fight.
yeah, he's got really really good grappling. His dude, I looked at his
He is like the best
record.
featherweight in the world.
Yeah. And like he won a lot of his early fights by submission. And like I think when he came to the UFC, he was known as like being, oh, he's a black belt. He's like a really good submission guy, you know. And he's just knocking dudes out with crazy crisp boxing. He doesn't even kick really.
Damn, dude. He's going to win, isn't he?
I think so. Now here's the real big problem: is kind of what we discussed earlier. Prime Whitaker beats Chimaev, but is he still prime? Max, I think we've seen the signs of him getting into the tail end of his career, right?
I agree.
He was known for having an iron chin, never getting dropped ever, right? We just saw him get dropped in his last 2 fights. I know one of them didn't count, but like he went to a knee or something, from what I remember.
From against who? Who did he get dropped by? Are you talking about Gaethje?
Gaethje definitely.
But
set him.
Gaethje didn't count because now here goes why it didn't count. So yeah, that was his last fight. So he's
Oh,
never
it's
been
just that
dropped.
one. Okay.
He's never been dropped officially. And the reason the Gaethje one doesn't count is they only count you as being dropped if the person ends up on top of you. So like yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the beef we have with takedowns.
Right.
Right? Like they'll count a
Yeah.
mat return as a takedown.
Right, yeah,
It's like no, a
yeah.
takedown is when you're in a neutral and then you
Yes.
get an advantage position, not when you're still in a dominant position. Like you haven't like
You haven't gone out of the takedown yet.
like the thing what they do with takedowns is like, so let's say I have Will down and Will stands up and I put him back down. They will count that as a takedown, but I have not lost control yet.
exactly.
So he hasn't gotten out for me to have taken him down yet.
if it was a wrestling match, I wouldn't have gotten any points.
Yeah, yeah, there would be no points for that. And
Yeah.
not saying that we have to go by wrestling's points, but it's not a takedown, you know what I mean? Unless the person has gotten
Out of the last one.
yeah. No, you're still being controlled.
Exactly. But either way, we are starting to see signs of his chin deteriorating. You know what I mean? And Topuria has insane power, and he's really good at finding people's chins. He's good at those flurries that Max usually is beating people in. So, if he points down, I don't think that goes well for him.
I need you to give me Topuria's profile.
For sure.
Run me to the bottom of the map. All right. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
And dude, look at this. A submission win over Bryce Mitchell. You know what I mean? He's fought power punchers like Emmett, came out on top. He's beaten greats like
Volkanovski.
Shut down Ryan Hall's. And granted, that was a weird fight. Did you see that one?
No.
Ryan Hall kept hitting this like weird. It wasn't an Imanari. It was like a weird Imanari variation or something. And Topuria was just stuffing it and just boom, put him out bad. But like that also shows like a really high level of jiu-jitsu that he wasn't afraid of Ryan Hall doing that to him. You know what I mean? Because like, I can sit here in theory and be like, oh yeah, if you're hitting like a weird little Imanari, you can just get punched in the face. But do you think I personally could do that to Ryan Hall? No. Probably not. So yeah, like he's just a true beast.
Take me back to the matchup. And then I want you to give me the grappling. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I don't think we're going to see much grappling in this fight.
I think we should.
I would, if I was in Topuria's corner, I would be like, come out, box super, super hard. Like throw some heat early and just inception Max into thinking that you're boxing and then blast a double.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. But I don't think we're going to see that, which is fun for us. I think we're going to see mostly a boxing fight. And I do think, unfortunately, Ilia wins that one.
So the stats we're seeing, what we're looking at here, is we're seeing their takedown average, the takedown accuracy, which I'm assuming is their percentage, their takedown defense percentage, which is pretty obvious, and their submission average. Now, this is on the grappling. You know what I would love to see is like time on top.
Yeah. I mean, we can see that. Do you want to see it for Ilia?
We can go deeper into that.
We can get some stats on this. So
yeah.
Right here, we get a little bit more information. Not as much as I was hoping for.
Because I know they keep those stats because I know like Pat Sabatini has like a ton of time on top.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. All right, well, that's cool. Anyhow, so you're going Topuria. Give me the odds.
Odds are minus 230 for Topuria, plus 190 for Max.
I'll be rooting for Max. But I won't be placing money on this fight. If I were to place money, I'd probably place it on Topuria, but I'd rather not win money than have to have any part of my body rooting for him.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat. Again, love to watch him fight. There's a lot of interesting things he does that I think are worth breaking down and teaching to our guys. And yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah,
unfortunately. With that said, I don't think it's one of those things where he's going to beat Holloway and then just like be gone and not look, and have like a big strike on Holloway's record. I think Topuria is around for a while. I don't see anyone beating him for quite some time.
Run me the featherweight rankings. Let's see what's around. Honestly, dude, I want to see Volk run that back. Volk gets the winner of this, don't you think?
Probably. I would say so. Oh, actually, I don't know, dude. If Max wins, do they...
Then Volk absolutely gets that fight.
That's true because he
was he 2-0 against them or 3-0? Yeah, he's definitely getting that fight.
But do you see any of these guys here beating Topuria? Lopez, I don't think has any chance against him. Rodriguez, no. I'm not seeing anyone
Evelev.
here.
I'd like to see more of Evelev.
This is actually interesting. Aljo against Topuria. Maybe Aljo's... I don't know, but that does interest me.
Yeah.
Chikadze, I think, is a fun fight, but I think that Topuria wins that too.
Boo.
Yeah, dude, I don't see anyone beating Topuria for like...
I mean, I can see Volk beating Topuria.
I don't think he does, man.
Why? Because he got knocked out?
I think we're starting to see the end of Volk, unfortunately.
I think he fought... So, okay.
I don't. He's in that point of his career, which I hate to say this, and I hate to use this as an example because he's literally my favorite fighter, but like, how Anderson, when he started to lose, it just fell off.
I think it's circumstantial with Volk, though, because, okay, so he came back, he took the... First off, okay, hear me out. So he fights Islam. Mm-hmm. Super close fight.
Super close. Great fight.
A lot of people had Volk winning.
Yeah.
Right? he's legitimately a featherweight.
Right.
Islam's barely a lightweight.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, honestly, on pound for pound, like Volk's still number one in my eyes, like on that, right? Because like the definition of pound for pound was like, all things being equal.
Exactly.
And people be like, well, they both weighed in at 155. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
And now he weighed in at 145.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Islam can't.
Yeah. I'd be like, okay, you know what? Islam can weigh in at 205. I bet you he could get fat and lose to John Jones if you want.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whatever. So it's them at their best. So he has that razor thin fight with him.
Yep.
Then
They rematch.
right? That's the very
Short
next
notice, I believe, right?
very next Volk fight. That was
Yeah.
the rematch, right? It's like a week notice.
Let me look this up. I want to make sure we're getting these right, but I think you are right.
Yep. No.
Oh yeah, no.
He beat Yair Rodriguez.
That's
He
right.
came back and defended the title. All right, but neither here nor there. So then he comes back, still an absolute dog, right? And then he takes that Volk fight on like very short notice, right? Gets head kicked, and then when was that fight? October what? Does that say 21st?
23.
10/23, and then the Topuria fight is February. I can't see.
17th of 24.
All right, so he probably came back too soon.
I agree. I think he did, and that Topuria knockout was bad. Like that's one of those ones that like. And again, like it's hard for me to say like, oh, his chin's going because he fought two of the best. You know what
Like
I mean?
here goes my thing: when you get knocked out, like what is it? A 90-day suspension? It should be a 6-month.
Should be, yeah. I think it can be as little as 30.
All right, so whatever. But like October 23rd to February 17th, that's less than 4 months.
Yeah, and
That's
think about
right back into camp.
And think about it. Okay, so he takes 2 months off from head contact, and he's right back to sparring to get ready. You know what I mean? Like that's just not enough time.
So, I don't know. I think he still can do. I'm not out. I'm not out on Volk. I'm not out on Volk. He's still.
Man, I hope you're right, dude. I really hope so. I love Volk. But let's put it this way.
I mean, I definitely laid out the it's feasibly.
Oh yeah, it's possible.
He came back from that knockout too quick.
Yeah. For sure. Now here's the thing. Like, Volk can beat pretty much anyone, but let's say that Topuria beats Holloway, right? And let's say that Volk gets the rematch and he beats Volk again. Again, look through the next however many guys. Do you see any names here that could pose a threat to Topuria? The only one.
Evelev.
Interesting.
I'll go Evelev. I think Diego Lopez can scrap with him.
I think Diego
Lopez has. I think he has a puncher's chance. But Evelev. So yeah. I think Volk and Evelev. But if he beats Volk, I think it's Evelev. If he beats Evelev, I think ideally somebody new emerges in that time.
Yeah, it would have to because I'm just not seeing anyone here who can beat him. I think we're about to see the Topuria era.
Yeah.
Which again, it's one of those. It's a weird thing because like again, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see the skill. I'm excited to see a dominant reign. I don't love him. So it is what it is.
Who's ranked 13? Oh, never mind. I thought those were. I was looking at Islam over there for the pound for pound rankings.
Oh, I see.
And I was like, yo, and I thought that was lightweight.
Right.
And I was like, yo, there's a Sean O'Malley at lightweight.
Yeah. Who's in the top 15? That's hilarious. Okay.
I can't see like for those of you watching, I can't I don't have great vision, and so I'm it's like when you're cheating on like your eye test, you're like, oh, it looks like an S. Like that's how everything looks to me right now.
I didn't realize how absurdly good my vision was until there was like a couple of like key moments. One of them being I was in high school. I was waiting for the bus, and I remember like I'm sitting at this bus stop, and like you see the buses like however many blocks down, and I would stand up and I would go look, not mine. I'd go sit back down, and then like 20 seconds later, like everyone else who was sitting at the bus stop would get up, go watch to see if it's their bus, and then go sit down. I was like, that's weird. They waited all that time, and then I realized like, oh, they just can't see that far. Like absurd vision.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I've got contacts in, and I can't see that far. All right, cool. So that puts a bow on 308 for us. Other fight news.
Yeah, so
spit some bars for us, William.
A couple things to mention here. First of all, just congratulations to Francis winning his fight.
Oh yeah.
He beat what's that guy's name? Pereira or something like that.
Yeah.
Dude's 6'8", beast, super athletic. And Francis just ground and pounded him like badly, very badly. And I'm a big Francis fan. I really like him. And like, you know, this was a big one. He was saying he was fighting for his son who tragically died. So like, you know, just to see him get that W is like heartwarming, you know. Just like really happy for Francis. And also like, you know, Dana White was just so happy about that because he's like, all right, because if the other dude wins, then PFL can be like, look, we've had the best heavyweights, you know what I mean? But now that Francis still won that, Dana can be like, yeah, of course he's dusting off all of your like,
you're
whatever. So yeah, good for Francis. The only other fight news I have really is Panpayak came back. So Panpayak, he is like a really, really high level fighter. He's like one of like, you know, the greats of this generation. He trains at the same gym as Rodtang. So, you know, it's Panpayak Jitmungnong, I think is how they say it. And it's Rodtang Jitmungnong, whatever. Because you know how they put their gym name at the end. So what's interesting about this is he came back and he won a decision against some dude. I didn't watch it. But I saw a clip of Superlek being like, oh yeah, good job, whatever, like being impressed with it. And it's cool because Superlek has fought him twice in one. Beat him both times. But that's only the end of the story. They fought like 8 times or something. And I want to say that Panpayak, at one point I know he was 4-3-1 in Panpayak's favor. So it's like, okay, now is that setting up another fight with Superlek? But then can Superlek just be like, no, I already beat him twice, like in recent history. You know what I mean? Like I'm talking like this goes through like the stadiums and everything too. So like what does one do? You know what I mean? Like they've really failed. Oh, also, here's another big failure. Panpayak hasn't fought in like 2 years. And dude, Muay Thai guys, they like to fight all the time. Like they come from the stadiums where they're fighting like every couple weeks.
Yeah. Oh, is this
Yeah, and one didn't fight this kid for 2 years while he's in his prime and he's a star.
Dude, was he the one who was complaining?
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah. And so now what do? Superlek's beaten all their stars, right? Like so like they had Rodtang, but like I mean, yeah, you can make Rodtang Superlek too. I'd watch that for sure.
Yeah.
And then do you make Superlek Panpayak 3-1 or like 9 or however many fights they have? Like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But just in general, their matchmaking, great example, okay? So you remember when our boy Luke the Chef Lisi fought Eddie Abasolo,
Yeah,
right?
I remember.
So they take their biggest American star and they have him fight probably their second biggest American star, right? Completely ignoring, and this is only in striking, the fact that they just didn't use another one of the American stars, Gary Tunnen, for the longest and ruined his, you know, like time in MMA for however many years. So they take their 2 best American guys and have them fight. Okay, great. Luke wins. He moves on. Now I think he's, you know, he had was it 2 losses now? I don't know, whatever. He lost his last fight at least. And so I bet they're going to put him on ice. So now they just lost like their 2 big American stars. And like, what are you going to do? And they've got like a handful of guys at that size. And then a dude who Luke almost beat is now fighting for like the 3rd time for the title. And they just kind of put themselves in a traffic jam of just like not having great matchups. They act like they have good MMA when they don't. And man, I'm just...
It's a shame because we wanted them. We tried hard to like it.
And I like what they're doing with their strikers to a degree, but like if Superlek beats, so he's fighting this kid, the King of the North, Carrillo. Is that his name, Carrillo? I think so. Who's like, imagine Haggerty, but just like bigger.
Yeah.
And he's a beast. He's a real beast. I do think Superlek beats him just because Superlek is Superlek. But as soon as he beats him, what do you do with him? Do you have him fight Panpayak again? Well, again, it's again like the 10th time or something. Do you have him fight Rodtang again? They probably don't want to burn Rodtang's star power. So like, I don't know. But it's a shame what one's doing, and they've never made money. I don't think we're going to see them around that much longer. And when I say that much longer, I mean like I think they fizzle out in the next like 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate.
Shame.
But
shame. You know, maybe they could right the track here, but we'll see. All right, you got anything else? I'm all set.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm all set. All right, good episode of Listen to Your Coaches. Remember, buy your tickets to the 247 Fighting Championships. Select your fighter to support them, and we'll catch you guys next time.